Well, hello, I'm Blackbright, as you know, and I'm doing a series of interviews of eminent people in Luton. And we now have Bob Baker, who I call the pillar of the Luton community. He begs to differ sometimes, but that's my description of him. And every time I see Bob, he's always smiling, he's always happy, he's very complimentary, and he's a really lovely person. And he's always willing to help and share and signpost if he hasn't got the answers. So I thought that interviewing Bob Baker, this interview series of Luton, wouldn't be a series without him. So, what I wanted to ask you first of all, Bob, is that because this is about Luton, what brought you to Luton?
Well, firstly, I'd like to thank you for that kind words of introduction. What brought me to Luton was I had to join my mother because I was left in Jamaica when they called, for people from back home to come and build back the country. So I came in 1966 when I was 9. I was living in the country part of Jamaica, one of the best parishes in the world.
Which parish was that?
Oh, it's got to be Clarendon.
Oh,
And
that's where my mum's from.
there you go, you see.
Okay.
And yeah, I was with I was the first grandchild that was born in the family home. There's 13 children on my mother's side, and obviously my father was just down the road, Maypen. So I spent more
Oh,
time fluctuating between, but in the end, ended up being my grandparents. So
wonder if we're related. My mum, my mum's from Maypen.
yeah,
Anyway, yeah, go on.
and I'm always smiling because you're such a wonderful, nice lady. Not just nice, but I know you're very for the disadvantaged. And I like that. We need people more like you. So
So
yeah.
that's what brought you to Luton, and you haven't thought about now as an adult. You haven't thought about moving anywhere else.
Well, I lived in quite a few places. I've lived in Derby, because when I was 13, I left Luton. I went to Derby matrimonial and spent quite adolescent years, apprenticeship, engineering and such forth. Then I came back 1980, and
Okay.
then briefly, then I went to live in America. I was in America for 10 months.
Okay.
Came back, and then also, built a career, Youth and Community 81. And lived in Bedford as well.
Okay.
It's after when I come back to Luton. So my education was up north as well when I went for the youth and community course. That was in Cheshire. So I moved around. Well, I was in London initially for about 6, 7 weeks before I came to Luton.
Okay. And so, what is it about Luton that you like? I mean, a lot of people have different things to say about Luton, but what do you think of Luton yourself?
Um, wow, that's a difficult one. I think like with Luton, I think it's because when you're 9, 12, 13, those formative years, and then I knew I couldn't go back to Jamaica because, you had to stop, you had to be here. They'd read all my AMA letters.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to come to terms and make a new life. And around the corner was the Clarendon Road, was the Campbell's family,
Oh,
so
okay.
they kind of babysit, grew up, and so, it was an adventure being over here. What I like about Luton, I've seen a lot of changes in Luton, from the old bus station and how it's developed. And I'm very familiar with Luton, although I went away and come back. But in terms of now, I've seen the different communities come and go as well, And so in terms of now, in Luton, it's very rich in multicultural, in terms, when I say multicultural, different nationalities, and Asians, Eastern European, Africans, you know, and it's not quite as intense as certain part of London.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit off, and it's a bit like, I would say village, a bit country in some ways, but
Yeah.
very urban in other
Yeah.
ways. There's a lot of features to Luton as well. I mean, we're blessed with the university. We've got a
Mm-hmm.
young student population. Also, at the same time, we've got the airport,
Mm-hmm.
And I think really, right, um, I think it's going through a sort of evolution in terms of like economics and like most, all industries has gone now to Reece Street, Vauxhall, Skefco's, the hat factory and so forth like that. So there is an opportunity really, right? But it's very hard. But there's an opportunity now to actually sort of evolve social, culturally, in that kind of way. So yeah, Luton's it's got a lot of potential. It's got a lot of potential, but we've got to be able to grasp and see the opportunities that's there now. And I think some old heads, when I say old heads, we can't be having dinosaur thinking anymore. You know, we can't be looking to the council looking for this. We've got to be more entrepreneurial, that kind of spirit. That's what it's about now. Yeah.
And that's what I get from you. You're very entrepreneurial. And I think, I was just wondering, where does all that energy come from, and that drive and that desire to help other people? Where does that come from?
I think it's from back home. It's like a discipline, really. Because like when I say back home, like the sooner you can help yourself, you know, then people don't have to spend time on you. Like you can be productive. You can go to the shop. You can get sugar. You can do whatever. You can go and fetch milk. You can do whatever because you know, and that kind of way. So, and you know, nobody wants to be not productive. Everybody wants to be proud because that's not the way it is back home. You know, you got to help yourself. It's not like you treat it like a baby or a kid. You know, and you get over things. You know, and it's like I think my grandparents really and my grandfather, because my grandfather was like a constable in the village. You know, he had a lot of lands and stuff like that. Our lifestyle was like probably no different from some. You know, we had like sugarcane, ginger, pimento, chocolate season, coffee season, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we live off the land. And some of my other uncles, they was in the town, in Kingston and whatever. They used to come and rice and all that kind of stuff. So everybody got to be a part of productive in some form of way.
Okay.
You know, so I suppose that's where it comes from, really, right? You know, and what do you call it? Protestant ethics.
Okay.
You know, I don't know if people are familiar with Protestant ethics.
I'm not actually. What is that?
Protestant ethic of delayed gratification is that basically it's about being thrift and how you spend your time.
Okay.
You know, like say, you know, I remember like, you know, you make sure that your clothes is ready, tidy, whatever you need to do. You don't waste time. You form your own form of entertainment.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you got to have something about.
Okay.
You know, and you get, you know, old school as well.
Yeah, I kind of get it. So what you've done is actually carried the culture from Jamaica of sharing and integrating and helping each other. You brought that with you into the UK.
That's right.
Not many people do that. Some people, when they come over, they seem to forget that, and then they're all for themselves, trying so hard to focus on what they want to do for themselves. So I think you have some extra special qualities that I don't think you realise you have, because you're quite a unique person in the sense that, you know, you are always helping and you're always promoting other people and you're quite selfless. So I think it has to be more than your background that makes you the person who you are.
Don't forget that there was a time really, right, like say from the sort of 60s, 70s, where we had to go through a lot of struggle to who are we? Because people never knew who we are as a people. They had all the stereotypes and such forth. We were seen in positions of certain jobs and whatever, and certain, you know, people like that. So, you know, we had to stick together, so to speak, in some ways. Well, as embourgeoism, which is like, say, money comes in, people, you know, and, you know, like Vauxhall, in fact. There was a study in Vauxhall, right? Because Vauxhall paid a lot of money, people could afford from lino to carpet to washing machine to all this kind of thing, you know?
Okay.
So how that relate back, really, right, and cars and whatever thing like that, is sometimes because people forget about the human bit.
Okay.
You know, sort of that class, and that kind of race, and things like that. You know, so what I would say really about trying to specific to answer your question, really, right, we never had no choice to make a life, because what was presented to us was not what we were.
Okay.
You know, like the standards.
So you wanted to change the stereotype.
Yeah, and we never wanted to push that on us because we're not used to it.
Okay.
Born in Jamaica is positive.
Okay.
So it was like I born in a negative thing. So I had an experience of who I am and to represent.
Okay.
And I get in trouble if I did not do certain things back home.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's instilled on you from an early. Yeah.
Okay. And so you work a lot with people in the community. What are some of the community organisations or people that you work with and, who help you achieve what you achieve, because you can't do it by yourself?
No, definitely, most certainly. Well, for me, really, right, I had to come to a point when I come back into consciousness. Yeah. Because sometimes you don't get it from your parents over here. I mean, most of what I got was from back home, but then you have to learn about the English society. And I'm not talking about 1066 and all that kind of stuff. Really, right, like say books. There's certain books. And at that time, the struggle had Nelson Mandela and all that kind of what's going on. And you see what's going on in America. In terms of like.
I was actually thinking about Lutonian people that you're working with.
Well, bringing it back home in terms of Luton, really, right? Some of the people that influenced me very, very strongly, right, is like Mrs. Eileen Williams.
Eileen Williams, okay.
Yeah, because she was one of those. She was a secretary of the National Self-Help Organisation, and that organisation formed because of what the education what was happening to the black children, Caribbean children.
Okay.
It was terrible, and so we had the Saturday schools to supplement their education, English, maths, but also folk songs, and that esteem. And I was a professional top lady, so I was a part of that movement in terms of like helping out the Saturday supplementary school, and loads of children, big woman from the grandparents that are coming through that. She was one that another lady really right who nurtured me quite a lot was Zippy Bravo. Oh, she was so funny. When I say funny, humorous and very loving, very stern, and she introduced me to Paul Botan and all that kind of stuff. We actually sort of got the law centre set up because we were the steering group. We met in houses because there was no law centre or anything. And
when you say we, who's we?
Me, Zippy, Philip Rose was a part of it, and the Workers' Education Association.
Okay.
In fact, the law centre is still going. There's a lady named Julie Sharp. She was on the first worker that were employed, and such forth like that. So the law centre. There's been other people, really, right. I think one of the person I must mention, really, right, Steve Stevenson.
Okay.
He was quite an influence to some extent. George Richards, passed away. Teacher Aaron.
Okay.
There's loads of fantastic people, really, right, who, if you wanted to know, they'll give you time.
Okay.
But you've got to have manners and respect.
Okay.
Them kind of way. And that's one of the things that sometimes we struggle a little bit.
Okay.
But we must not forget those people's shoulders we stood on.
Yeah, in order to get where you were.
And that's one of the issues we have now sometimes. We don't always show where we're coming from. That's not taken away from anybody to share.
Yeah, because we have quite a few black businesses. I mean, we've got Mia, we've got Miss Henry, we've got Riley's, we've got so many black businesses in.
There is a few, and I think really right. To talk about the Black Pound, it's sometimes like Riley's, they're one of my good sponsors, supporters. There's Tops, there's the hairdresser, and I don't want to name because it sounds
too
personal.
many, and there's so many of them, and then if you don't, exactly.
And I'll tell you what I like about you, basically, really, right? Not only the journalism bit, the black, the news, but also the set time your campaign, your podcast is very, very good, and also right. Like say the way you're extending out into the herbals, those kind of things, because the remedies, because I used to have those back on the mint tea and the different things, the gin and this and that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so that's kind of good, and you intertwine it.
Yeah.
And never mind about, the beauty bit, you're proper, So I can't help but smile. There's nothing wrong with that. If I'm old and whatever, call me whatever you want to label me, but you're one of my favourite journalist person. Manners and respect every time.
That's kind of you.
Yeah.
So, you've already told me what you do. So, everyone has challenges. How do you cope with challenge? First, let me know what your biggest obstacle has been in your life.
I'm not sure what my biggest obstacle is. Sometimes, oh,
Well, maybe not the biggest. A obstacle then.
the obstacles I have sometimes really right is balancing myself. Really, I come to balance.
You're the
Because
sign of Libra, though, aren't they? Aren't they the scales?
yeah, that's from the outside. You're the internal. No. I think what it is really right is I'd say one of my challenges really is trying to not get absorbed in too many things. It's very very difficult. Um, I
What do you
don't.
mean, overextending yourself? Do you
Yeah. Because sometimes I take on things and I say, oh, not without thinking fully.
mean?
Some of it sometimes, but God always helped me through, and other
Okay.
people always helped me through. And I think really this point actually I should come to, right? Even though you seem as quite unique, there's a lot of people right who take time with me.
Mm-hmm.
They have to see me and help me with things. I can't do nothing without people around about the trust. I think one of my things really, I don't want to let people down. I don't want to say things that I can't do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to betray the person's trust.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the biggest things that faces me.
Okay.
Really, right? To say something that you don't intend or want to do just for the sake of saying it.
So is this about learning to say no, or?
Partly it's about learning to say no, but partly it's about actually sort of knowing that words are important. And when somebody,
Yeah, that's integrity, isn't it?
Yeah, when somebody and trust, because once trust is gone, whether from you or from the other point, you can't really,
Yeah, you can't build it up
build it
back.
back up. But going on the other side, I got a lot of energies. The energies that I get really right, I can get energy from a little baby, a little smile, could be whatever, things like that. And there's some amazing people who are going through difficulties you would never know. Some of them they want to share until they get to know their story, their shoes, where they're coming from. So very, very inspiring. There's no difference between. I think it's just profiling sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying earlier that one of your obstacles is, overextending yourself, and that's why I was asking if it's about saying no, because some people they like to please others. And you might be such a person, I don't know, where you want to please others, but in order to kind of safeguard yourself and not to overextend yourself, you would have to learn to say no and know that it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you don't actually overextend, and then you can still keep your word. You're still you still have your integrity. You know
But
what I mean?
it's a process that you have to go through, to get to that, because what is right, I think being very, very clinical, really right. If I keep bumping my head in the wall all the time with a certain individual, after a while I'm not going to do it anymore. Yeah, and it doesn't matter. I already.
When you say bumping your head, what do you mean?
I mean, like you got to learn your lessons from the experience. They don't class everybody the same, but you got to learn your lessons in terms of particular people. Maybe different.
So you make sure you invest your energy in the right people.
Where you don't know to when you encountered in them.
Oh, I see.
Really? Because you don't know nobody, you can't prejudge as such. But once you get into a relationship or communication, you travel that journey. Yeah, something may work out, may not work out, but you know the reason why it may not work out.
But I think some people, people tend to, even though we don't notice it. I think people give us signs as to their character and whether or not they're reliable or whether or not they're going to take advantage. I think they give you an insight. But sometimes, especially being Libras, you see the good in everybody. And so sometimes you miss that, or even if your instinct is telling you, oh, that isn't quite right, I didn't feel comfortable with that, and you'll dismiss it and say, oh, that I'm just being petty. Sometimes that's your sign that maybe you shouldn't engage with that person, because that person might not be reliable, that person might let you down, or you see what I mean?
But once you've learned your lesson, you've learned your lesson.
Yeah,
because more forward, it's insanity. I know. You talk about insanity.
I know.
Expecting the same thing to change it.
Exactly. You're doing the same thing over and expecting a different result.
But to another point, right? God gave everybody a quality and uniqueness, so you got to protect your inner peace.
Yes,
That's
you have
nothing.
to.
That's
Yeah.
nothing to do with nobody.
No,
They
that's
could
it.
do. They can be whatever they want to be, but you got that inner self so that you can
Mm.
give to others, so you can feel at a place. You know,
You're right.
that kind of way. So I think peace and happiness. But if I have to fight for peace and happiness, I will.
Okay.
You know, that kind of way. I love beautiful things.
Okay.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, that's
Who
true.
doesn't like beautiful things? You know?
So your challenges. So okay, you've told me what your challenges are. So how do you overcome those challenges?
Well, you know what? You may not believe this, and I think you would believe it. You know, I'm a spiritual person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know, I do say prayers,
Mm-hmm.
but when I say prayers, right, some people, oh, no, prayers is something that you speak genuinely about. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of relationship. Right?
Yeah.
And also at the same time, be like, you give thanks for your little blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's eating a nice place of food or something,
Mm-hmm.
seeing somebody, those little things, you know. And I get a lot of joy
Mm-hmm.
from giving.
Okay.
Yeah, not just receiving. I get a lot of joy from giving, making, and I really appreciate when somebody does something for me
Yeah.
in that kind of way. And to some people, right, what may seem like a hard work, hard work for me. So I've
Okay.
been drilled when I was younger.
Yeah, it's
You know,
natural.
I've been drilled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, say for example, I did something out of innocence, you know, at home or whatever. Because my mom, you know, she had a different kind of life. You know, she had only mental health breakdown and such forth,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Obviously, it's quite common, but we don't talk about it
Mm.
as a people. You know, there's a lot of um, you know, I don't want to call it immigrants. A lot of us that came over there, they're
Mm-hmm.
displaced with the family and all that kind of
Yeah, it's
whatever stuff,
stressful.
that stress and things like that. And say sometimes you may get their wrath. So they
Mm.
have to go through societal issues as well.
Yeah.
As well as whatever. So like say for example, right, say I was to do something or not do something.
Mm.
Because do something is one thing and not to do something
Still get licked same way.
because you have to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Because everything needs to be
Yeah.
whatever like that. You know? So then you get scolded. Sometimes it's not even your fault. Sometimes you get blitzed for somebody else. You know, whatever, you all get beaten together. You know,
Yeah.
So sometimes, you know, it's someone knock at the door. You just fix your face together.
Mm.
You go up the door. Hello, Mister. Yeah, you can't be coming up push up face.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
Even when they're beating you, you're not supposed to be crying.
Yeah.
You want me to give you something to cry for?
I'm not saying we're not propagating that.
Oh no, definitely
But
yeah.
Stitching time.
Yeah, save 9.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, so yeah, we kind of blessed, and I think those kind of things want to translate on. Nothing is easy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what gives people in our generation the resilience. I think younger people tend to be a bit more fragile. So, and I think it's because they didn't have it tough. So they didn't have to fight for what they wanted. And I think that's because they call them the entitlement assignment. So you've got people in their 20s and 30s and even younger. They have a sense of entitlement. They think the world owes them a favour. They don't think they have to work hard for anything. They think they're just supposed to get it like that. So it's a totally different mindset for people.
I see myself as I'm not really. I'm an immigrant. I'm not, you know, never mind all this kind of whatever, you know what I mean? Thing like that. Back home, there's no social security.
No.
You know what I mean? You have to get up 5 o'clock in the morning, go fetch milk, go do this, go do that, go do that, and make your own thing like that. I know that sound, and people may say, oh, we're going back to before the wheel invented, but whatever.
But it's true, though.
Where's, you know, that kind of way, so. I mean, like now, the challenges that government faces, you know, because there's not enough money for everything. But
they've been over generous, haven't they? Really,
you could say that. But there's people that live outside the government, what you call it, the wealth or whatever. I ain't got no argument with that. What it is what it is. Is that going to change?
No, it's not going to. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer every day.
So all it is, that's how do we enhance and learn the lessons. I know it may sound a bit, I don't know how it sounds to some people, because really, right, that's another controversial. I'm not going to be controversial, but you see what it is really, right? I really believe that I'm going to get probably slated. But naturally, we're conservative rather than Labour.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though we take on the Labour thing because of socialism and all that kind of stuff, we're conservative. We believe in business. We believe in, you know, all the other things that goes with itself, whatever. I'm not talking about, like I said, Adam Smith laissez-faire. We're not going to Adam Smith, you know, like free everything exploitation. I'm not talking about that side. Well, I think we seem to think that we've got to secular or somebody's got to give us something, or we've got to look the government up for what you call it, you know.
But I think that is the way it's been indoctrinated, because if you think, if we're going back to the 60s and all of that, I mean, the government more or less encouraged people to go to use their services.
That's right.
And I think, you know, if you weren't working, you could go on the dole. And they'd pay for your rent, they'd pay for your electricity.
Exactly.
And some people, they thought, bloody hell, Christmas had come, because you can sit at home. Literally, they encouraged laziness, because you could sit at home, have your rent paid, have your electricity paid, no council tax. You get subsidised, real subsidy with nurseries and stuff. So people ended up, and they've got a dull culture. I mean, you don't find many black people with the dull culture, but there is a dull culture because they've just become reliant on it. So, like you said, you know, we were taught to kind of work hard and do whatever.
Always. But now I think we're learning to work smart now.
Yeah.
Not work hard, work smart.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
You know, got to use your brain, because at the end of the day, really, right, if you have something for yourself, if that's a small thing, it's good. Rather than somebody have to give you something.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah.
And whatever it takes, you know, you do it. So I hope people don't get the wrong impression.
You don't have to worry.
Saying.
Yeah,
You know
I think you're talking making sense.
Because I would challenge a lot of what you call it, you know, and that slavery mentality as well. You get me? And I just, you know, because I don't think I'm just Jamaican. I'm African in terms of my ancestors. You know, and I wish really I could put over this point, like, human. We are people of colour, right? But we're people. And
so
our
people
DNA
first.
and our DNA got certain environment and a certain, what do you call it, and certain, how can I say, memories or whatever, and you have to channel it positively in a kind of way, you know. When I, you know, I mean, the society now is just accepting the beauty of what they call it, multicultural black people. There's a lot of them on the television. So what was wrong before? What was wrong before? Why there wasn't on there? Yeah? All these other things that we're doing now, you're going to find out that these things are going to get taken and projected out there, but we're not going to be the architect or the benefactors.
No, it's going to be rebranded.
Yeah? But then I don't see it as negativity, I just see it as progress. For those who are liberated in their mind, because we can't always be on the same level.
But I think it's progress, but the people who are, I think the issue that some people have is that they're coming up with the idea that somebody else is getting the, what's the word? They're getting the credit for it. And I think that is where the issue is when you're thinking about what black people do. But yeah, I mean, it might always be that way. There might be a change, but at least slowly, black people are getting recognised for their exports. I mean, it can't be hidden. You've got Usain Bolt. You can't hide the fact that he's the fastest man in the world, can you?
No.
And all of these geniuses that happen to be black or, you know, Caribbean and, you know, African and Caribbean. So, you know, it's revealing itself about who is the greatest. Like Muhammad Ali.
and listen, where's all these mixed race babies coming from?
Yeah.
Which, you know, I think probably that seems like a phenomenon that they're going to be a bigger proportion in time goes on.
Well, they reckon
within that sort of bit.
They reckon that 50% of children will wake up to mixed parents. 50%. So our genes are being diluted as we speak.
I don't know about that. We're enriching the society. And the black man's got a lot to answer for. And some of the sisters as well. Nothing wrong with that. You know? So long as you know where it is. You know, on a controversial thing, I think if a black man wants to go with a white woman, I don't have no problem with that. If a black woman wants to go with the white man, I don't have no problem with that. The problem that I have really, right, if it's a problem, is disrespecting one to say that, oh, that's better.
Yeah, yeah, I get what you mean.
When they don't look at the playing fields and all the
Yeah,
other thing.
yeah, I get what
Yeah?
you mean. Yeah.
You know, if you want to make a choice, you make a choice, but don't diss your
The other
way
one, yeah.
for that.
Yeah,
You know, and that's where I will always have issues
I get you.
in terms of that. Yeah.
So who is Bob Baker?
Wow. I think I'm still trying to find out. I know, I'm, as I say, I'm a God-fearing person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit of an entrepreneurial person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, who am I? I'm just somebody real. I'm just trying to survive or have not survive. I want to more than survive. I want to live a better life. You know, I want to pass through this earth in the best way that I can.
And so, if you wanted, if you could look at people when you pass on, what would you like people, or what do you think people would be saying about Bob Baker?
Yeah, he was.
What would you like them to say?
I like to say that he's kind of all right. You know, at the same time, right? God gave him a gift, and he thought, he used his gift as best according to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and as I say, my body and whatever is not my own. It's been made, so like you're blessed as well in lots of different ways.
Mm.
And I like to travel a bit more. I like to see more of this world before. Who knows?
You transition.
I don't want to just you see like a little village thing on, anything like that. I've come from a social background, like engineering initially, engineering, then it's like youth and community, and I've got a great life in terms of that. I must say, challenging over there. I met some fantastic people, Hauser Commons and this and that, Prince Charles, Regland, this and all of the different things. I see some real growth, and I've developed a lot of the groups in Luton, all the Federation of African Caribbean, and all that pre. I've seen so many things rise and go and things like that. And I'm very lucky that because I've had one or two calling with my lungs collapsed a couple of times way back. Also at the same time with the COVID about 18 months ago, which thing like so. Yeah. So
and you pulled through?
Yeah, I pulled through. So who am I? I'm just I'm somebody really who's trying to make a difference. I'm somebody who's overcoming travesty. I'm somebody who's very vulnerable at the same time. Yes.
What kind of things make you vulnerable?
I don't always follow the straight line. I don't say I'm crooked, but I don't always go the safe way. Sometimes I like to be a bit, on the
on the edge.
Yeah, like say, I'm very comfortable in a suit and tie, very comfortable tracksuit. I'm very comfortable, depending on what the situation, but I don't have to be just for show. I will, like, I don't want to name, okay, like say Henry Huggins as an example, when he was racially attacked and stuff like that, and some people don't want to know about that side of things, Same with Leon Biggs, and I warned against, but yesterday for that big public meeting at Luton Youth House, it wasn't Luton Youth, it's Carnival Arts Centre, I don't mind getting dirty.
Yeah.
No matter what you think or anybody want to think, and I will say, like I've called out the institutional racism when others wouldn't. They want to collude with it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But the thing of deep down, really, right? Some of those people, they know I'm genuine, even though they're, I won't say they're against me, but they're enemy. And some of them got to know a good friend.
Okay.
It's what you do. It's how you do what you do, not because, that kind of way. It's very so easy nowadays, really, right? To leave it, don't trouble it.
I hear you.
I'm not saying I'm a coward, really. Don't say coward. I have to go to God. Pray for strength.
I know.
Please don't let me get in trouble.
Yeah,
I
get you.
So my strength, really, right? It's not me. Sometimes it's for the higher and other people.
Okay.
And so I'm not brave.
I know what you mean.
I just have to do it regardless whether I'm strong or not,
Okay. And what I wanted to ask you, we don't live in a perfect world, but what would a perfect world look like to you?
You don't want to ask me that.
Hmm?
You don't ask me that question.
Yes, I do.
A perfect world is waking up and seeing you. You're going to edit that.
I won't. I don't think that. See, but
That'd be a perfect world to me because you're very wise and you're very, I mean, truly, you're a real inspiration to other people as well. And little children then,
Okay.
Yeah, because all of the things like, what's that song called? It's a Wonderful World.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali and all that bits that he does.
Mm-hmm.
All those, and fantastic singers, man.
Well, you're not talking about Louis Armstrong. What a beautiful world.
Yeah, beautiful world.
Yeah, what a beautiful world.
I mean, Aretha Franklin, all those kind of, what do you call it? Those kind of things instill on me.
Okay.
And Mary Angelou. It's the culture, the literature. But you got that in you.
Yeah. So all of that kind of thing, that's what makes book life.
And I tell you what, I think ought to be prescribed really, right? I think it ought to prescribe that young people, or not just young people, adults, everybody, get a taste of that. When they get a bit of that soul, that kind of what you call it, it puts them in good stead. Because as I say, you can't just live by your own personal experience. You've got to have a wider experience for the people to say you relate to that.
And I think with this COVID going on, I mean, children are even more isolated from experiences, aren't they?
Definitely.
So, and I guess they're going more into themselves. I wanted to say, thinking about what's happening with COVID and we don't know what's going to happen with the Omicron and whether there's going to be a lockdown. What would you say to encourage people out there who might be feeling a little, down or discouraged or dispirited?
Well, we've had this before, in some ways. I think they're way about this with the Great Depression. Yeah, in some ways. And you've had bubonic plague. I know I wasn't around that time, but a long time. All that kind of stuff, really, right? I mean, I remember, this is where I draw my thing from back home. There used to be sort of songs that people used to sing, like that old-time religion. Pushing on God's own way. Because we've had to go through slavery and whatever, and all that kind of, never mind that slavery bit, but even moving on, hard times, a hard life, that's, and then you have to know that there's a relationship between you and that Father above, never mind that man and social situation. So what I would say really, right, is, sometimes it's good not to take in too much, because if you take in too much of the news and everything, right, it will send you over. You've got to find something for you in some whatever it is, your own little struggles, your own little thing, your own little enjoyment within that. Take each day at a time. Just like you say, give me oil in my lamp, keep me burning. Give me oil in my lamp, I pray. Give me oil in my lamp, keep me burning. Keep me burning till the break of day. So you got to lift up your spirit. And that reminds me really, right, of Pastor Campbell. Icon, really, really influential man in my life. Nardine Campbell, when he passed away, because he was a, so it's that soul. So just remember that we connect with our ancestors and people. It's not just about the now and here. If you do that, then you're losing out. And we are going to join our fathers, hopefully, So I just say, just, I don't know if you got, a book or something, or think of something that can take your mind away. Talk to people, pick up the phone.
Yeah, I think that's the common theme here, because when I'm asking people that I'm interviewing, they are saying pick up the phone, speak to somebody, but you do still have people out there who don't feel confident enough. You know what I mean? And I remember I was in a hospital once, and especially the elderly, and I feel so sorry for them because they don't want to inconvenience anyone. And so you find they're saying, I don't want to be in any trouble, I'm okay, when really they're not okay. And so it is a bit, I mean, I doubt very much if the elderly are watching these videos, but it is about people who may be younger, knowing that elderly people are around, you know, to kind of impose on them, even though they say they don't want to be bothered. You know what I mean? I think it's taking that little extra step and imposing on them and saying, look, you know, I know you said you don't need my help, but I just want to sit and talk to you for 10, 15 minutes or something. And it's amazing because sometimes we take so much for granted, you know.
But you see what you're saying basically, really, right? It's the reverse a little bit of like when we was growing up. But sometimes, really, right, you should be able to take a lick for a good reason. So if they're going to come and say, I'm not telling you that, I don't want nobody. You're taking a lick, but it's for a good reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's why you want to invest that bit. At least you know within your mind as best you can.
Yeah, exactly.
So that kind of way. And, you know, I've got a few elderly I ring up from time to time. You know, and of course it brings joy to my soul. You know, because I go and visit, and when I go and visit them, you know what I mean, it's like the world could pass by. Some beautiful people. I don't want to name them.
Yeah.
You know? And they, you know, they don't talk about, because they pass through all that. You know, so that they've got a different kind of whatever to it. You know, and you know, for me, I humble myself because they've done it. You know, I'm still going through the work a bit and stuff like that. You know, and some of them got ailments. Some, you know, and they're doing well with the ailments, and you know, and then like dementia, dialysis 3 days a week. You don't know the guy's got the problem, and yet despite that, you see the character.
I know,
the
character is so
comes
strong.
through.
I know.
And the thing about it, right, even though they got children, I don't say children, they got children, big people. It's not the same.
Yeah.
It's a different relationship with you. You're not the immediate vehicle because they know that's person, because you are their friend.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Not just a family friend, and you're trusted. You know, and I feel like it's an honor.
Yeah.
Because you know, especially the elders, I've got a big thing about the elders. I think a lot's been said about young people. I'm not saying that young people don't need programming or I don't need programming to program. You know, but you know, we want to talk about the custodian, because I think that one of the issues that we have really, right, when I say we as a Caribbean, African, whatever, in terms of the British, because it's a different experience. Caribbean experience from a British experience, British black, it's a slightly different experience.
Oh, I see. Oh, it is totally different. Yeah.
You know, it's got elements of it, you know. So it's like, because even when it was quite clear to me, you know, when the younger sister, how they've been treated, how I'm treated. Even now.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like a probably old kind of traditionalist.
Yeah.
Maybe, in some sense.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Bob. It's been wonderful speaking to you. And well, I think we've covered most of it because it's gone up to nearly 45 minutes. So most people, their attention span is about 20. So
what about you? My attention
span. So I just want to hope that you enjoy this interview. And like I said, this is Bob Baker.
Thank you very much, Lady Lloyd.
You're welcome.
Honor.
Okay.